Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to Total Hockey TV. Tonight we've got Goalie Talk, and we're really fortunate to have two greats from the industry with us. We've got Pete Smith, head of goalie for Warrior Hockey, and we've got Eric Marvin, goalie product manager for Warrior Hockey. Tonight we're going to take this opportunity while both these guys are in the studio to go over the entire Ritual line. As you see, we've got it all behind us. Pete and Eric will give you the ins and outs of all the gear, and if you have some questions on the gear, we can go through those once we've gone through each piece. So hopefully you'll find this really informative. You'll learn a lot more about this great new product, the Ritual line that's coming out here in 2012. Now this is the Ritual Custom Pro, made in Canada by you guys in Montreal, based
Correct.
off that 6000 design.
Right.
And can you just point out, I mean, a couple things that are make it really innovative? I mean, I know, personally, I know about there's 3 or 4 pieces of this pad that no other pad has. So can we kind of go through those a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. So why don't we just start here? Obviously, the first thing that people will notice is it's completely bindingless.
Correct.
Which hasn't been done before. First time. Are there durability issues because it's a bindingless pad, or?
Oh, there's durability improvement. One of the things I would try and do with my previous pads with the binding was I was always trying to smooth everything out underneath it as much as I could to try and prevent those wear spots that would invariably happen. And I just started thinking about it more and more. The binding is sticking out, it's protruding. So it's taking the brunt of the force every time the pad goes down. So this very thin area is receiving all this friction and force on it. And that's what wears out. So I just started thinking, well, if it was a wider area, if it was a smoother area, wouldn't that provide better durability? And I was also thinking about, even though I wasn't building mass quantities, I always tried to think in terms of how could a pad be built very consistently on a large scale. Maybe somehow I knew that Warrior would be calling me. So I was always thinking of other ways that I could build a pad that would be very consistent. And it luckily worked the way I wanted it to. This wide, smooth surface, as you go down into a butterfly, it's a lot of area that's receiving the force. So you just don't get those wear spots.
So we had a question that came in, and the question is: are these pads good for a deep stance? You'll get some guys in a narrow stance. Some guys who are into a deeper stance tend to get a tapered boot.
Right. There's a few different things working in conjunction with each other here. The sliding toe bridge plays a big part, and the flatness of the underside of the boot plays a big part. As you're going into your stance and your skate's going down and down, instead of the pad forcing your blade up off the ice, the pad just keeps shifting up. As your skate goes down, the pad shifts up out of your way. So you're not fighting against the pad at all. So you get the benefits of the full width. And the benefits of that full width is just more coverage. And when you go into a butterfly, this squared up design is what helps keep the pad very square to the ice. So you're maximizing your full coverage.
Yeah. So and that's due that's due in part to the rounded edge, and that's also due in part to another innovative design here, which is the tabletop boot. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Okay. So so as you'll notice here in the boot, there's I think there's very little boot channel, if any, and I believe you're probably forced to put these extra side pieces in to make them NHL compliant.
Correct.
So the original iteration of it just had a completely flat bottom.
Right.
So so that obviously helps in that regard too. The pad is more easily able to move in that butterfly position on your foot.
Right. In the butterfly age, you don't have to worry so much about the protection of the side of the skate because you're not really opening up your foot the way past styles did. So the fact that your skate is sitting, or the pad is sitting on top of your skate, you're not in any danger protection-wise. So there's no point in having your skate really sunken down deep. It's just an extra step for your skate to have to climb out of to get down to transition into the butterfly. So this provides a really easy, clean, efficient transition into a butterfly.
Yeah. So there's a couple other things I like. I have a pair of your older Smith pads. I had one of the problems I always experienced with a toe bridge that because they're always completely covered in leather, the seams constantly rip. I constantly have to replace them. So when I first saw this, I mean, this is just one of those designs where you kind of look at it and go, gosh, why didn't I think that? It's just so simple, and the string works better because
Right.
it doesn't get hung up on the leather.
At some point, it occurred to me, you know, I keep seeing these things
Yeah.
fall apart, and the mechanism still works just
Yeah.
fine when it falls apart, but it's ugly, and people don't like to see their stuff fall apart.
Yeah.
So it suddenly occurred to me, why am I sewing Gen Pro around this plastic? It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I tested it for a while. It showed basically no wear at all,
Yeah.
and it worked better. So
Yeah. Okay,
there
so
you have it.
let's stay on the boot for a little bit because there's two other things I want to get to here if we could. The adjustable strap locations. We get a lot of calls from people who want to know, okay, there's 3 slots for straps all the way up your boot. What does each hole do? Does one, like, I know one pulls the pad in closer to your foot, one makes it a little more loose.
Right.
Fit a little more loosely.
When the strap is in the front slot and you go through the back hole of your skate, that's the one that's going to pull it back the most.
Yeah.
And pulling it back is also raising the pad up. So it's a feel thing, but it's also a sizing thing. If the pad is just off a little bit, you could use the boot strap to help get it just right. It's one of those things, it's not an earth-shattering difference between having the strap here and having it there, but it's just another opportunity for a goalie to really dial in exactly the feel that they're looking for.
And one other thing I wanted to touch on when I went up and visited Eric up in Detroit and he showed me the pads for the first time, and I talked to you on the phone about it a little while later, one of the things that I was most impressed at, again, this comes from the wow, somebody should have thought of that earlier category, was the way the pad foams are situated here in the boot and the thigh to keep the pad from shrinking more over time. Can you go over that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's sort of been a never-ending issue with pads over the last 10 years, and part of it is my fault from the original Velocity design. But pads tend to settle, and it's been something that I've slowly been trying to figure out a better way over the last 10 years, and finally I came up with the right combination of internal shapes and foams so that the opportunity for this part of the foam to settle behind the boot is not there.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
And it's worked well.
It prolongs pad life. I mean, you're getting, when you buy it, you can be confident you'll have pretty much the same size throughout the life of the pad.
Exactly.
So that's great. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Actually, one more question somebody's asking. A lot of people want to know, it looks like a stiff pad. It looks not, it doesn't look as flexible as others. And then some people will say, no, it actually plays soft and feels soft. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I think the foams are set up in such a way that you have the choice. If you want a stiffer or springier pad, you just don't break them in. You know, if you want the pad broken in, then work it in, and the foams will start to break down a little bit to give you that worked-in feeling.
Great. Okay, a couple other things here. You've got the post wedge here on the side, as we'll kind of make our way up the boot. So, again, I can't tell you how many times I've been hit in the side of the leg because you just don't have something here. So another great innovation. How did this come about? Just trial and error on your part?
Yeah, just from my own self letting pucks slip by me as I'm up against the post.
Sure.
And the puck would go in, I'd look down at my leg, and I'd keep seeing this triangular shaped opening there, and just occurred to me, why not fill that space in?
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, you've played in the pads.
Yep.
When you find that you're kind of up against the post, your knees are bent, you get a complete seal with this against your leg. I mean, it's covering all the holes.
Yeah, it is. And when your leg's in here, it creates a stiff wall. So you don't get those bad angle bounces with this piece here because it creates one solid surface.
Right.
So
and I'll try to take this
it's
apart.
a little bit, the consistency of the rebounds off this side are just like the front of the pad.
Yep.
I see it as a deterrent too. Any time you could have a guy choose to do something else with the puck other than shoot it, if you're playing competitively, you're better off.
Yeah.
If a guy quickly looks and all he sees is pad and he doesn't see any daylight there, he's gonna do something else with the puck, and in that time that he's doing something else, your team can possibly take it away.
That's a good point. Again, Eric, kind of speaking to that point as well, I know when we were originally visiting, you were saying that if there wasn't this extra pad behind the post wedge here, there would be opportunity for this to kind of flop in a little bit. But because your leg is set here, this pad sets here, it does create a solid wall against that post. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the leg channel a little bit. Again, super wide, nice and flat. and the calf wrap goes completely around your leg. And again, it's got a removable strap here, so you really have the opportunity to wear the pad any way you want it. You can wear it loose, or you can wear it tight.
Right. I mean, you commented that it's super wide. It is wide, yet at the same time, when you wear the elastic strap tight, it does give you more of a closed feeling. So you really can sort of get a couple of different feels from this type of setup.
Okay.
Yeah, we've gotten great feedback from guys that have worn different types of pads, and depending on the way they strap it up, they can get that tight, snug feel, or they can get that wide open feel, all based off these two flaps and how tight they strap it up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then kind of moving up here to the knee lock, I think one of the things that many people might not notice is you can see here there's probably an inch of extra material between the area where it's sewn into the pad and the actual flap itself. Pete, can you explain kind of the design behind that?
Yeah, it has everything to do with the motion of the butterfly. As your thigh swings over this way, this bends and the whole thing twists. So you could wear this very tight, and yet as you're moving, you have the security of the tightness, but you're not fighting against the pad. So it's a very natural feel.
And it allows for both knee pads. If you wear knee pads, you know, big knee pads, small knee pads.
This can widen
because
right
it
out.
widens out.
True. Good point.
And with the hinges, no matter how big or bulky, it still turns with your knee.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then kind of staying with the knee lock here, kind of another interesting feature is right here with the landing gear. Obviously, this size is probably mandated by NHL regulations, but you guys have created a little wider platform and probably a little more blocking surface too by extending the length of this knee riser here and then adding a little extra piece, correct?
Right. All these dimensions are mandated by the NHL, so it was leaving a gap here that would allow the pad to angle back, maybe over-rotate slightly because of the drop-off. So it's just filling in that space, so now you have an even surface for an extra 1.5 inches that you didn't have before.
And again, super simple design, but it creates a nice stable landing platform. So I mean, obviously that's better for balance and movement while in your butterfly position.
Correct.
Again, you've got a nice, looking at the inside, it's a nice thin thigh rise so the pads can overlap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your butterfly also, you know, reduces weight a little bit. Now there, in kind of leading up to this, there have been some discussions as to whether the pad plays again stiff. If you can, you know, if you just went with a stock, but you opted to keep the thigh straps in, could you create a little more flex in it over time if you wish to, or
yeah, it would require some break-in.
Yeah,
it absolutely can be done.
Yeah, you can definitely make it have that narrow butterfly that's a lot of goalies like that. You know, if their hips are bad, or you know they're a little older, or they're learning to butterfly, you know, they're not going to have as wide of a butterfly stance. So you can get that narrow butterfly closure out of this pad.
Yeah, and this is the custom too. So
correct.
Again,
so you can get the double break.
You get the double break.
Absolutely.
So again, so some of the other things that come on the for those of you who are thinking about going custom, you can custom besides the colors. I think there are what 14, 16 color zones on the pad.
I mean, total zones, like total customability, because we're working on our customizer right now, is close to 70 zones. 70 custom zones.
Yeah.
I mean, and probably, you know, I think it's something like 30 of them are just color, like just the Gen Pro or RoboCop color zones.
Right.
And then you've got lacing, you've got your custom options as well that play into that. But I mean, the graphic can look so many different ways because there's so many zones. I mean, that's the way we built this pad. We built it with so many different colors so you could see all the zones. And I think even after we built this pad, we even broke up a couple others. So what you're seeing here, and then add a couple, and that's what you're going to end up being able to do on the customizer.
So we were fortunate enough here at Total Hockey to get 4 advanced sets before they came on the market. And when our rep and you contacted us to give us the opportunity to do that, we had a couple goalies here in the office play around with the customizer. And when we saw the first draft of it, I mean, we all spent probably a good half hour, 45 minutes, just clicking through all the zones, and you can really dial in this pad any way you want it, color-wise.
Oh,
and
it's a goalie's dream to
really
mess
is.
around and choose the colors. And I mean, we see it on the bulletin boards that we're a part of out on the internet, with all the mock-ups and all the mock-ups we do for pros and everything. I mean, this pad can look so many different ways, and it's so fun to see it in different ways, because you can click on one zone and all of a sudden it changes the whole look of the pad, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the Custom Pro pad. Brand new this year, obviously made in Canada. I know it's really taken off for us. I know I walked by a guy here in the office. He just took another custom order. So you guys are doing something right. And we spent a lot of time on this pad because this is really the basis for everything else that's in the line.
Right.
So as we go through everything else, the functionality of this is almost the exact functionality you'll get in, besides youth, maybe junior all the way up to pro.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. So
I want to add something
Sure.
real fast, that the feedback we've gotten from a lot of college and pro guys and even our testers and everything is that this surface here, the inside of the pad, allows for such a slide that they've almost had to change their game where they're not pushing as hard, because with their current pad setup, they have to push a lot harder to move around. This pad allows you to slide around so much easier, that you literally have to train yourself not to push as hard.
yeah.
But it does mean saving energy.
Absolutely.
Once you adjust to it,
Right.
you are saving energy,
Yeah.
and you're that much stronger at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And every goalie wants that edge up, and the slide ability on this is really great.
Combined with the very lightweight.
So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to the new launch. We'll see the customizer coming out, any day
shortly.
now.
Shortly.
And we'll have it all on TotalHockey.com. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Really
you.
appreciate
Very
it.
much for having
We hope
us.
fans hope you enjoyed a little bit of insight on the Warrior gear, and we want you to check it out at TotalHockey.com in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching.